So in this video, I want to talk about the biggest myth in Pokemon investing that you have probably heard. Now, maybe myth isn't the best terminology to use here, maybe misconception, but this is something I hear a lot of people talk about in this whole Pokemon investing space, and I understand why people preach this, investing strategy, and a lot of people talk about it. But it really is an opinion on whether you should be investing this way or not based on this one factor. So you may have heard from people saying that you should invest into a product or set because maybe it's going out of print and it is most likely not going to get reprinted again, or maybe a product has already gotten reprints or whatever, and therefore it's probably not going to be printed again, and therefore you should buy it just strictly on that reasoning. I don't totally agree with this statement. Now, can you use this as a factor with other factors of why maybe you should invest into a product? Sure. An example I could give would be like Paldea Evolved. Paldea Evolved is an amazing set. Obviously has the Magikarp IR. It's been, booster box has been printed twice already. It's going out of print or out of rotation early next year. Using the factor of it already being printed numerous times and it's going to go out of rotation here pretty soon, gives pretty good data that maybe it's a good pickup right now. That's definitely something you can use as an argument of why you should be buying something. And I'm not trying to say that this isn't a valid argument, but a lot of people bring up this statement alone, that just buy this because it hasn't gotten reprinted and therefore it's more scarce. I just don't think it's the best investing strategy out there, because sometimes there's reasons why Pokemon doesn't reprint products. Can we take any guesses? Why does Pokemon decide to reprint the Evolving Skies into the ground? They did. If you guys didn't know, Evolving Skies showed up in many products, right? Tell me why Pokemon has focused on 151, reprinting a lot of 151. Tell me why Pokemon has decided to reprint a lot of Prismatic Evolutions. Do you maybe get the trend I'm trying to get at here? Maybe because they aren't very popular great sets. Maybe that is the reason. People don't talk about that though, right? People don't talk about Pokemon mainly seemingly reprints like these better sets more than other sets. And I'm not saying that Pokemon doesn't reprint sets that aren't as popular. I mean, they have in history, right? They have reprinted some sets that weren't extremely expensive or whatever, but Pokemon does tend to print more in-demand sets more than the ones that aren't. I mean, it just makes sense, right? That's what we've seen. So there is a reason why some of these sets don't get reprints or at all. And I'm going to show you guys some examples here of some modern sets that most likely won't get reprints, right? I mean, this is just, me saying this as not a fact, but as an opinion by most people, right? Most people, and there's a couple examples I'm giving here with Scarlet and Violet, but the biggest one here is Paradox Rift, as I'm trying to give as an example. A lot of people will agree that Paradox Rift most likely won't see a reprint, at least a booster box reprint, I should clarify, before it goes out of rotation early next year, right? Most people would agree with that because it hasn't gotten a booster box reprint this entire time. Okay, so most people would agree with that. Same thing with Shrouded Fable. I know Shrouded Fable is a little bit newer than Paradox Rift. It's not going out of rotation, but a lot of people would agree that this is probably not going to see any reprints, right? But the main thing I want to focus on here is Paradox Rift, right? A lot of people agree it's not going to get a reprint. Now, one thing to know already just right off the bat, it's interesting. And this to me is exactly like Astral Radiance, which I'm going to talk about here. Think about it. Paradox Rift has not gotten a single reprint. And tell me why. Tell me why this booster box is not more expensive than it is right now. Tell me why Paradox Rift is way cheaper than many other newer boxes, and not even top tier sets. I'm not talking about Deaths and Rivals. Look at what? Is Stellar Crown maybe the same? It's been going down. Stellar Crown, it's around the same price as this, around the same price. Surging Sparks is a little more expensive. Twilight Masquerade. Temporal Forces, I believe, is also more expensive. And those are all newer sets. Tell me why this one hasn't got a reprint. And some of those have seen reprints, like Twilight Masquerade has. I guess, Stellar Crown hasn't. I guess that's maybe a bad example, but Surging Sparks. Tell me why this is just as or just as or cheaper than those boxes. And this has never seen a reprint. This is the fourth set, guys, in Scarlet and Violet. This is not extremely new. Tell me why. Why isn't it more expensive if it's more scarce? Because there hasn't been reprints. Well, it's simple. Demand, right? That's what it is. But here's the thing. I'm not negating the fact that you can consider it, safer because there's less supply, it's more scarce, and there most likely won't be, a reprint. I'm not negating that fact. But the whole point I'm trying to get at here is don't use that as a specific reason to invest into something. Because, yeah, you're maybe offering yourself some safety from there being more supply out there or possible reprints, but there's maybe a reason why that hasn't been reprinted, like I mentioned, and you maybe just be buying a product that most likely maybe won't go down, you could say, as much because it maybe won't get reprinted, but there could also be the limiting downside that it was not going to go up as much. But if you're investing into stuff like this and your whole reason why you're investing into it is because you want it as a safer investment, I've always talked about it. It's strictly an opinion, and all investing, there's nothing wrong with investing and having your own reasons why you're investing into something. But my personal opinion, and this is, like I said, my personal opinion, if you're going to invest into something and you don't even really, and maybe it's not that great of a set, but you're strictly just going to invest into it because it's a safer option, maybe there are some other things you can invest into other than Pokemon, right? Because, like if there's other, like I said, there's other factors also that are contributing to why you want to invest into it. And, one of those factors is just because it's like a safer option because it hasn't gotten reprinted. That's fine, right? But strictly just because it's, a safer option because it hasn't gotten reprints or whatever, I just don't think it's a great investing strategy. And oftentimes, like I said, there's a reason why it hasn't gotten reprinted. And I'm going to show you guys an example here that I really want to give. Astral Radiance. Astral Radiance, I don't know if it saw one reprint, but I know it didn't get reprinted a lot at all. It may have not gotten a reprint. I can't tell you guys what for 100% certainty, but I remember this did not get reprints when Lost Origin Silver Tempest did, and I can't remember during Sword and Shield ever hearing about an Astral Radiance reprint. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember there being one. And people talked about this being, the safer option, sort of like maybe what people consider to be also with Paradox Rift. In Astral Radiance, if you guys look at just even the sales volume, it is extremely low compared to every other Sword and Shield set that has an alternate art except for Battle Styles. Even during the TCG player sale, guys, look at the sales volume. Go to any other Sword and Shield box, Chilling Reign and up, other than Astral Radiance. Look at the sales volume. Maybe not Evolving Skies because it's like a $2,000 booster box. Look at the sales volume. It tells you all you need to know. And this is the cheapest box from any of those boxes I just named by far. The next most expensive ones, maybe Chilling Reign, me at like $450 or whatever. But this is the cheapest one, and yet it didn't see really any notable increase in sales volume. That speaks volumes. And this was considered the safer option because it was more scarce, there wasn't more supply out there. So, I'm just giving this as an example, and you can maybe even say Battle Styles because of how cheap it was a year ago, right? That's kind of a different argument, but it was like $131. It's still done fine. 77% still good, but relative to other things, this is not that great. But the main point I'm trying to get at here is just investing into safer options, specifically pertaining to reprints and, this potentially not, seeing any reprints, then therefore you should buy it. I don't know. Like I said, I get the safety part, but like I said, also, if you're going to invest into Pokemon and try to be safe and resort to doing stuff like this, is it possible Paradox Rift performs extremely well in the long term? It's possible. But, as I, showed you guys an example of, that not really being the case with Astral Radiance, you have seen many other Sword and Shield boxes perform way better. So, like I said, I know people are trying to preach a good investing strategy of being safe, but you really got to think to yourself, like I said, do you really want to invest into Pokemon and be extremely safe? If you do, then maybe, like I said, everyone's investing strategy is different, but it's something to think about. When people speak this, okay, invest in this because it's safer. Think about really, what that safer option is. If you see a great, opportunity or perspective on Paradox Rift in the future, then maybe that is, enough, I guess, of a reason for you to invest into it, along with it potentially not seeing any reprints in its, during its rotation. But like I said, if you're specifically investing just because it's safer, I don't know if that's the best thing ever. But hey, if you think that's a good investing strategy, then by all means go ahead. I'm not trying to hate on people that, invest into safer things, because I understand it to some extent. But I've just seen it so much. People saying invest into this because it hasn't seen reprints. Guys, there's a reason, like I said, they haven't gotten reprinted. You have to think about that. It's something that, I just strongly think that it gets pushed so much in the space, and I think people don't talk about this other side of, doing this. It sounds good, but is it really? That's all I want to say. I know, like I said, maybe this is a hot take, but something to think about. And an example I really wanted to, connect with each other, is Paradox Rift and Astral Radiance. I personally think it could face similar outcome where, I mean, it still performs fine. Like I said, I mean, relative all these percentages, they're still good, but, yeah, I mean, it's really just up to you. But it's something to think about, something I wanted to share. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.